You'll be asked 2 vehicle safety questions at the start of your driving test. These are also known as the show me tell me questions. So the examiner will ask you 1 show me question. That's where you actually have to show them how to carry out a check. And then there will be 1 tell me question where you just have to explain how you would carry out the check. The examiner may ask you to open the bonnet, as there are 4 separate questions which will require you to open the bonnet. So you need to know where the lever is that opens the bonnet. In this car, it's just here, and you pull it towards you, and this opens the bonnet. Next, you need to know where the catch is. This is normally located to the front center of the bonnet. Just push it to the side and lift the bonnet up with the other hand. Then use the rod and secure it correctly so it holds the bonnet up. Open the bonnet, identify where you would check the engine oil level, and tell me how you would check that the engine has sufficient oil. So firstly, you wouldn't actually touch anything under the bonnet. You just point and then give the examiner an explanation. If the engine oil was low, you would just unscrew this part here and add more. So to check if you have enough oil, you would take out this dipstick here. As you can see, it's quite messy, so you'd give it a wipe. Then you would dip it back in, and then take it back out. And as you can see there, the black oil marking should be in between the minimum and maximum markers. Open the bonnet, identify where the brake fluid reservoir is, and tell me how you would check that you have a safe level of hydraulic brake fluid. So you would point to the brake fluid reservoir, which is identified by this marking here, the circle with the brackets around it, and tell the examiner the level should be in between the minimum and maximum markings. Open the bonnet, identify where you would check the engine coolant level, and tell me how you would check that the engine has the correct level. This is the engine coolant here. As you can see, it says it on the lid, and you would make sure it's in between the high and low markings. Identify where the windscreen washer reservoir is, and tell me how you would check the windscreen washer level. This is the windscreen washer reservoir, identified by this sign of the windscreen with squirty water, and this does not normally have any markings. So what you would do is open the lid and have a look. Also, in some cars, a warning light will appear on the dash when the water level is low. Show me how you would check that the direction indicators are working. To switch on all your indicators, you'd press the hazard warning light switch, which is this one with the red triangle, and as soon as you press that, you will see both your indicator arrows flashing. Then you would get out of the car and walk around and make sure every single indicator is flashing correctly. Show me how you would check the brake lights are working on this car. For this question, you'll need to switch on your ignition, and you will know your ignition is on as the lights will show on the dash. Then you will need to press the brake pedal and ask the examiner to go out and check that the brake lights are working. And this is what the brake lights look like. Show me or explain how you would check that the power assisted steering is working before starting a journey. Basically, if the steering becomes heavy, the system may not be working properly. When the car is off, the steering wheel will feel heavy, but as soon as you start the engine, the steering wheel should feel light and easy to turn. And that's how you check the power assisted steering is working correctly or not. Show me how you would check the parking brake or handbrake for excessive wear. Make sure you keep safe control of the vehicle. The first thing you need to do is apply the foot brake firmly. This is so the car doesn't roll while you are checking the handbrake. Then you would put the handbrake down and then lift it back up and explain to the examiner that it should secure itself and hold in place when you let it go. Show me how you would check that the horn is working. This one's pretty straightforward, so all you need to do is press the horn. Show me how you would clean the windscreen using the windscreen washer and wipers. You will need to put the ignition on for this question. Here is the wiper lever on the right, and if you pull it towards you, this will wash the front windscreen. And if you push the lever the opposite way, that will wash the back screen. Show me how you would switch on the rear fog light and explain when you would use it. You will need to turn on your ignition. Firstly, you would switch on your headlights by turning this switch here. You should see these signs appear on the dash. Then you would switch on your rear fog light by pushing this button down towards this sign here. The rear fog light sign should appear on your dash. That's the amber colored sign. This is what the rear fog light looks like from the outside. It's a light that's on the bottom right hand side there. And the rear fog light should be used when the visibility is less than 100 meters. Show me how you switch your headlight from dip to main beam and explain how you would know the main beam is on. Again, you will need to turn on your ignition, and then you would switch the dipped headlights on by turning this switch here. You will see these signs appear on the dash, and to switch on the main beam, you push the lever forward, that's away from you, and you will know that the main beam is on as this blue sign will appear. And just so you know, this is what your dipped headlights look like, and these are your main beam. Show me how you would set the demister controls to clear all the windows effectively. You will need to turn on the ignition. Firstly, you would set the temperature to the highest, and then set the air so it goes towards the windscreen by pressing this button here. Then turn the fan up to the highest speed. Some cars may have a quick clear button, just like this one here. This will demist the screens quickly. And this is the button you press to demist the back screen. Tell me how you would check that the brakes are working before starting a journey. You would tell the examiner that the brakes should be tested as you set off, and when you do press the brake pedal, they shouldn't feel spongy or slack, and also as you're braking, the vehicle should not pull to one side. Tell me how you make sure your head restraint is correctly adjusted so it provides the best protection in the event of a crash. The head restraint should be adjusted so the rigid part, that's normally the center part of the head restraint, is at least as high as the eyes or the top of the ears. It should also be as close as to the back of the head as is comfortable. Tell me how you would check that the headlights and taillights are working. This is a tell me question, but we're going to show you exactly what you have to say. So you would need to turn on the ignition and switch on the lights using the correct switch. Then you would walk to the front of the car to check that the headlights are working. And then walk to the back of the car to check that the taillights are working. Tell me how you would know if there was a problem with your anti-lock braking system. So you would tell the examiner that a warning light will illuminate if there is a fault with the anti-lock braking system. That's the ABS sign just there. Tell me where you'd find the information for the recommended tyre pressures for this car and how tyre pressures should be checked. You would find the information for the recommended tyre pressures in the car manufacturer's guide. Always check the tyre pressures when the tyres are cold using a reliable pressure gauge. After checking the tyre pressures, Remember to refit the valve caps, and don't forget to check the spare tyre. Tell me how you would check the tyres to ensure that they have sufficient tread depth and that their general condition is safe to use on the road. You would check around the tyre to ensure that there are no cuts and bulges. There should be 1.6mm of tread depth across the central 3/4 of the breadth of the tyre, which is this part here, and this should be around the whole tyre.